Have you ever found a piece of old software that just feels like it's from some alternate universe? A tool that's so powerful and so different it kind of makes you question how we do things today? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're about to unearth a forgotten legend, the Semware editor.
Now, to get this tool, you first have to get the world it came from. And this quote, which is from just a few weeks ago, by the way, it just perfectly captures the vibe. It talks about bulletin board systems, BBSs, and this incredible challenge of memory optimization. This isn't just someone being nostalgic, this was the pressure cooker that forged the software we're about to look at.
So yeah, to really get why this editor was so special, we got to take a step back in time. Long before app stores, before the cloud, the whole digital world was a totally different beast.
I want you to imagine a world that's almost completely text. Your screen? Probably black with glowing green or amber letters. MS-DOS is running the show, and if you wanted to go online, you were dialing into a local BBS with your modem. You weren't grabbing software from some polished app store. It was being shared in these little communities, often as something called shareware. It was this era of direct connection with other people and with the actual hardware of your machine.
And this number, this right here, illustrates the single biggest challenge of that whole time. 640 kilobytes. That was it. That was the absolute maximum amount of usable memory for pretty much any program. Not megabytes, not gigabytes, kilobytes. And this wasn't just a number. It was basically a law of physics for developers. Every single byte mattered, which forced this relentless, obsessive focus on pure performance and efficiency.
So out of this world of what seems like impossible limitations, a special kind of tool was born. One that didn't just get by, it absolutely thrived. It was built for the people who demanded everything from their computers.
So let me introduce you to the Semware editor, or TSE for short. Now, this wasn't some free little toy. No, this was a professional, commercial piece of software that people paid good money for. It was made for the power user. The programmer, the sysadmin, the writer, basically anyone whose job meant they lived and breathed text inside a command prompt.
So what was its secret sauce? Well, for starters, it was unbelievably fast because it had no other choice. Second, it was all about the keyboard. A mouse was like an afterthought. Real speed came from your fingertips. It was also a master at handling tons of files at once, with this cool idea called the file ring, which let you just zip through all your open documents. But the real magic, the thing that truly set it apart, was that last point: total control for the user.
And this idea of control, this is where TSC goes from being a great editor to something else entirely. It wasn't just a pre-built application. It was more like a box of Lego bricks they gave you to build your own perfect editor.
Now, the foundation for all this was the macro. And in its simplest form, a macro just lets you record a bunch of actions and then assign all of it to a single key. You know how you sometimes find yourself repeating the same 5 commands over and over and over? Well, with a macro, you'd turn that into just one keystroke. Simple, powerful, and a massive time saver.
But TSE, it took this idea to a whole other galaxy. It didn't just have macros. It had its own full-blown, built-in programming language called SAL. Suddenly, you weren't just recording keystrokes anymore. You were writing actual programs that ran inside your editor.
And I'm not just talking about automating text edits. You could build entirely new parts of the user interface. Just look at some of these commands from the language. Warn function, ask file name, message box buff. You could write a script that pops up a custom warning message, or asks you for a file name, or even builds its own pull-down menus from scratch. You were literally extending the editor's own features.
And this quote from the actual user manual, man, it just gets right to the heart of their whole philosophy. The developers built the editor using their own tools, and then they turned around and handed those exact same powerful tools right over to you. That is an incredible level of trust and empowerment that you just hardly ever see today.
Okay, but the innovation didn't stop with just being able to customize everything. TSE also had these fundamentally different ways of letting you see and manipulate text. It really encouraged you to think about your document not just as a stream of words, but like a structured grid.
And here is a concept that I think was a total game changer. On the left, you see the normal way we select text, right? It just flows along the line. But on the right, that's TSC's column block selection. See that? You're not highlighting a sequence of text, you're selecting a vertical rectangle of text. Imagine you need to insert the same word at the beginning of 20 different lines. With column mode, that's one single operation. It's a superpower.
And its cool ideas didn't stop there. We're all used to having one clipboard, right? You copy something and whatever was there before is just gone.
TSE had a much more powerful idea: the deletion buffer. So here's how it worked. Every single time you deleted something, a character, a word, a whole line, a block, it wasn't really gone. It was just pushed onto a stack. So you could delete a line, then a word, then part of another line, and they're all saved in order. If you suddenly needed to paste the word you deleted 2 steps ago, no problem. You just pull it right back out of the buffer. It was like having a multi-level clipboard history built right in.
And the sheer scale of this was just staggering for the time. This wasn't a history of your last 5 cuts. The size of the deletion buffer was limited only by whatever memory was available. For all practical purposes, it was an infinite, searchable history of everything you had ever cut or deleted.
So TSE was this incredibly powerful, way ahead of its time tool that, eventually faded away as MS-DOS gave way to Windows and other graphical systems. But the story, it doesn't end there. In May of 2024, just a little while ago, the Semware editor was officially released as freeware. This amazing piece of computing history, this masterclass in efficiency and user empowerment, is now available for anyone to just download and explore. It's like a time capsule that you can actually open up and use.
So what TSE really represents is more than just a piece of old software. It's a philosophy, one that feels almost radical today. It's this belief that the user, not the developer, should have the final say. That software should be a toolkit that you can bend and shape, not some polished object that you can only look at. It valued raw power over simplicity, and it put function way above form.
And this brings us to one last big question. As we use our beautiful, intuitive, and, let's be honest, often locked-down modern apps, it's worth asking. In gaining all that polish, did we lose something more important? Have we maybe lost the power, or even just the desire, to truly shape and control our own digital tools? Definitely something to think about.